There's architecture everywhere. Of course, every single block is filled with different types of architecture, from the very mundane architecture like the row houses or townhouses or the glass steel towers you see all around the city. But there's also very strange architecture. The ones that if you look at it, you can't quite make out what it's supposed to be, unless if you are an expert in urban planning or love your history like I do. Otherwise, some architecture is a big head scratcher. Today we're going to explore the strange architecture along the Hudson to see what's up with some of these buildings. I'm Ariel, you're watching Urbanist. This is also functioning as a little preview for upcoming explorations of New Jersey. So let me know where you're watching from, and let's go for a short walk through the Hudson to learn about some very unique architecture. So I'm sitting here in the nice breeze along this beautiful waterfront park, and I love this area because it's totally unexpected. A lot of people use this to kind of bike around, but they're almost always passing through. I see very rarely people just stopping and admiring the weird stuff that is around here. So let's explore first this building that's across our view of the water. And what do you think this is? Let me know in the comments. Hello Darren, hello Jan, hello Arlene, hello Brian, hello May, hello Panida, hello B. Griffin. I'm glad you changed your name back. Hello William. Art Deco is your favorite architecture. Oh cool, William. Not that much Art Deco here, actually this building does qualify as Art Deco. Hello Patty, hello Jose, and hello everyone, nice to see you here. So, let me know. I'm going to get your guesses. B already submitted his guess. Let me know. What do you think this piece of architecture is? You might recognize it. It looks similar to something also featured in the major film that takes place in New York City as well. Darren has a great guess. Patty has a great guess. Hello, Azuzu. Hello, Wakio. Hello, Yvana from Madrid. Bienvenidos. Gracias por mirando. Helen says it's a dam. The pier is a good observation point, and Kay says it's an air vent. So yes, people said correctly. Kay, B. Griffin, Judith, a few others. This is an air vent, a massive, gigantic air vent. 1 out of 4 air vents that service the Holland Tunnel. The Holland Tunnel was the first major passenger road tunnel built in New York City. Opened up in 1927, and it looks like a power plant. Yes, Brian, it looks like a huge air conditioner. In a way, it kind of functions like an air conditioner. But why is there a massive air vent here for the Holland Tunnel? Well, that's where the dawn of the vehicle comes into play back in the 1920s, when the vehicle started becoming affordable. And with it being affordable, it was massive combustion engines that will clog up the atmosphere. But luckily, we live in an area that's open air. So a lot of roadways, of course, are in the open air, just like right nearby West Side Highway. However, if you put these highways into indoor spaces, you have big issues. So if you try to, let's say you leave your car in your garage, if you live like in most North American countries, many other countries around the world have garages within their homes. It's an enclosed garage, you leave it, car idle, the gas turned on. I would highly recommend not staying in your garage. Unfortunately, some people use this to commit suicide, which is a very sad thing. The reason is carbon monoxide builds up in the atmosphere of that enclosed area, which is a car garage. Same thing happens in massive tunnels. Thus, when they built this in 1927, it would have been a very bad idea to not add tunnels, to not add air vents to this tunnel, because if there was no air vents, then everyone going through the tunnel would die very quickly. Actually, they would die so quickly it would just be in a matter of minutes. This is 1 out of 4 air vents with 84 vents, 42 in and 42 out. B. Griffin, B. Griffin has a little bit additional. He says, aren't ventilation tunnels also necessary for electrified trains like the subway? Yes, so the subway also has ventilation. There is ventilation buildings for the subway, and they are scattered throughout the city. You'll see one, for example, right by the Queensboro Bridge. There's a gigantic one. And also there is ventilation faux townhouses for the subway. One of them is in Brooklyn Bridge. So yeah, they do. So we're not going to go across the pier for this one because we can actually see the second one right here behind this strange looking abstract architecture. What is this? Gwen, you love learning from me. Oh, I'm so glad. Well, I mentioned this leads to a little preview of what we're going to go through this week. Because the Holland Tunnel services Manhattan to Jersey City / Hoboken. The two places we're going to visit, Jersey City and Hoboken, the square mile city. Stay tuned for that this week. So Jersey City and Hoboken. And I want to give a huge shout out to everyone who's been tuning in. I want to thank you, all of you. I want to thank you for tuning in, for having so many new patrons and PayPalers. Okay, so let me know, what do you think this is? Right here, what do you think this is? So that is the other ventilation. We'll get close to it. We got to cross the street first. Right here we have the West Side Highway. What do you think this is? As we're crossing the street, let me know your guesses. We got to go back down here. This is Pier 34. Nicole says, remember to hit that like button. Yes, indeed, hit that like button. It helps with getting more viewers. The more viewers, the better videos I can make. The more videos I can make in different places. Not just in New York City, but beyond. Dwayne says, I don't know. Give me your guesses. It could be anything. Give me your best guesses. A lot of you have seen either few or many of my videos. And a very few of you have seen basically all of my videos. So you might be able to make some educated guesses, I think. Right down there, we see, of course, the Freedom Tower. The views of Battery Park City. Has a medium income of $300,000, so it's a very expensive neighborhood, but also very green. And here we're seeing the crosswalk, so let's go back. Catherine, is it something to do with the Titanic? Ooh, good guess. People say it's an iceberg. It kind of does look like an iceberg, but it is not the iceberg building that you might be thinking about that we can see from the High Line. We're a little bit further away from the High Line. So a lot of people are getting the guess correct. Anderson Island Express, Rob. B. Griffin, you were just here this Friday. Oh, so cool. And there's a skate park down here, yes. There's a skate park down here. So, West Side Highway used to be elevated. And imagine driving in the elevated West Side Highway back during the era of the 1970s when they were building the Twin Towers. There was a time where they actually closed down the West Side Highway because they were about to demolish it. So you had this entire highway to yourselves. I recommend checking out photos of that. It was posted a few weeks ago by George on the Urbanist group page on Facebook. Really cool images. I actually don't know why they tore it down. So if anyone knows, why did they tear down the West Side Highway? Let me know. I'm very curious. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is a salt shed. Let's take a closer look. It's good that we're getting kind of a faraway perspective. It's a piece of architecture that's very hard to take a photo of because it's so kind of weirdly shaped. Floor, yes, it does have a similar shape to the Frank Gehry ICE building in right by the High Line. It also has a similar kind of shape like the Whitney. The architect who designed this salt shed, Richard Datner, in collaboration with WXY Architects, said that people driving in the West Side Highway who are new to New York City, tourists, think sometimes that this is the Whitney when it's not. It's not the Whitney. Where do you catch the ferry to Manhattan to New Jersey? Kim, you'll learn about that when I go to Jersey. I think it's in 39th Street, though I will clarify. There's one in 39th and there's one at Battery Park City, right by the World Trade Center. So you'll actually see a video of the ferry. Very interesting, says Dwayne. Hello, Andrew from Rome. Welcome, Andrew. Here's a park. It's kind of empty. There's some cobblestone streets here, remnant of old New York. And lots of awesome architecture of condominiums all around here. I'm just picking 3 pieces of architecture. But there's so much more. Highly recommend kind of taking a walk around here. We will be taking one of the pedestrian bridges over West Street. Oh, I don't know yet. Maybe. Here it is. I think we should go widescreen for this. The Whitney was designed by Renzo Piano. Yes, another great architect. So a salt shed is a building that stores salt. Yep, literally just salt. But the main purpose of that salt is in order to prevent blizzards. So whenever there is a blizzard or a massive snowstorm, sanitation trucks come in here, take out the salt, drive out all throughout the city, and leave salt in order to melt the ice. It's been done for hundreds of years. And the city has perfected that system because it's under the Department of Sanitation of New York. It is 553 Canal Street. And here, it's the DSNY, means the Department of Sanitation of New York. And here we have where they take out the salt. It stores 5,000 tons of salt. It is a mountain of salt inside there. Now there's salt sheds all around the country. It's a normal thing that you'll find in basically any modern city, especially if it's in a part where there is snow. And yet most of them are very boring looking. But this one, they built it very, very, I would say, cool looking. It's very interesting architecture. Of course, it's not in use because we're not gonna have a snowstorm in the middle of September. At least I hope not. You know, the weather hasn't gotten that crazy yet. And they even did the DSNY logo very interestingly here. It kind of pops out in a very unique way. Let's try to zoom in. Let's see if we can get a better perspective. It's a little bit hard to get a better perspective. One of your videos, I know the area cause, oh cool, cookie. Judith, learn something new every day. There are pedestrian bridges at Liberty and Chambers Street. Oh cool, B. I'll look into that. I actually never heard of those pedestrian bridges that you're referring to. And Floor, you rock, your videos are so great. It makes us feel like we're in New York. And the Department of Sanitation is next door, and yes, and that's where they also have all the trucks, right next door. Jamie, ask me any questions related to what we're talking about today. And hello, everyone. Nice to see you here. If you're alone, why do you wear a mask? It is a personal choice. Yeah, Joanne. So, salt or sand? No sand in here in this case. I know there are sand sheds, though. I don't know too much about them. Now, this was actually built on top of the Holland Tunnel, which we're going to go walk to the ventilation building soon. And oh wow, something broke here. The glass here broke. So the building does extend underground. But I think the most impressive thing about this building is how heavy it is. If New York City would suddenly be consumed in water, say by a mega tsunami that comes from the Canary Islands and washes away New York, hopefully that doesn't happen, or a massive shift in climate change and suddenly half of lower Manhattan is submerged in 6 feet of water, this building will survive. Because this building has 6 feet thick of concrete. If I punch this, I will break my hand. So if anyone tries to punch me, I will duck and they'll break their hand. That's how thick this is. Ooh. Colorado, South Dakota, and southern Alberta got snow recently. Whoa, Dwayne, that's crazy. So what's up with the weird jagged shape to it? Department of Sanitation also has a very unique look to it as well. This glass is not doing too well. Uh-oh. You can see the hole right here. Whoa. You hear that? It's so hard, so hard. It's poured concrete, so it has a kind of brutalist look to it. We have a mountain of salt on Staten Island. They just cover it with red, white, and blue traps. Yes, they do, Cynthia. And that's common in certain areas. Though you have more official salt sheds in many parts of the city. Yeah, the logo is creative, indeed. Schools are open, some schools are. So what's up with this weird jagged shape? Well, first someone needs to let me know what's up with these broken glasses, because that's very concerning. Of course, architecture could never be perfect because you have to contend with the elements. Like my hair has to contend with the elements. But why is this a weird jagged shape? Well, it was imitating how salt collects and goes up into a mountain. Think of when molten lava comes out of a volcano and then kind of hardens, right? It produces a natural shape. That shape tends to be very similar across all types of volcanoes. Same thing with any type of crystal, same thing with any rock. Remember, salt is a rock we eat. It's the only rock we eat. It's kind of crazy to think about that we eat a rock, salt. So the shape of the building takes a precise slope in the same way that salt collects on top of a mountain, salt crystals. May you be looking them at a microscopic scale, or may you be seeing a massive salt mountain, which you might see when you're like digging a huge ditch underground like they did in Hungary and Austria and many other parts of Eastern Europe and Central Europe. Do you think the beauty of the architecture can be more greatly appreciated after consuming alcohol? Maybe, Jamie. Depends on your tastes. Sometimes, just like art, can be appreciated in different states of mind. So look at that beautiful. I love that. Let me know what's your opinion of this salt shed, designed by Richard Datner in collaboration with WXY Architects. Why is this building so fortified? I don't know 100% sure. I think it might be a few reasons. A, it's right above the Holland Tunnel. So this is the vent for the Holland Tunnel. This is equally fortified, and there's cameras everywhere. So the NSA is probably watching me right now. That might be one of the reasons. I think that's one of the reasons Richard Dantner gave in an interview he did on an amazing podcast about art on Spotify. The other reason might be because they just want to protect the salt inside, because this is the city's salt reserve. So Dwayne says salt is corrosive. Yes. So it being in a vulnerable position right above the Holland Tunnel, you can't have such a corrosive material be in such a weak piece of architecture. You can afford that maybe if you are in a different place. But if you're here, especially in the city's salt supply, if suddenly there's a massive blizzard, then you will be screwed. Speaking of blizzards, New York City went through many very harsh blizzards during the late 1800s and the early 1900s. So bad that the Hudson River completely froze. Some people, according to rumors, were able to walk across the Hudson River. However, if the Hudson River is frozen, and this is the era before cars, and this is the era during railroads, how did they get any goods? Well, Manhattan was screwed during that time. Because if the Hudson River was frozen, they couldn't connect to the island. Either they had to take the long way around through the Bronx, potentially, or get goods deeper from Long Island. But if they didn't, they would be screwed. So the Hudson, yes, it froze. It froze, it got so bad that the New York City decided to build a freight tunnel. And that freight tunnel later turned into a passenger tunnel as well. This is the Holland Tunnel's ventilation building. It's the same type of building used in the film Men in Black. Sodium chloride isn't good for concrete. Oh, Dwayne, thank you for letting us know. See, this is why I love live video. The more the merrier. What is it? How many heads do we have watching today? 100 heads? 100 heads is better than one. Greetings, my fellow city traveler. My pleasure. Thank you so much for tuning in, Tina. This is indeed spooky area at night. I agree. So the one used in Men in Black is, I think, the Battery Park ventilation building. Amazing to think so much thought went to the design of a salt shed. We don't get that in the UK. We just get a small tub by the side of the road if you're lucky. Oh, that's funny. Let me know how many people are watching on YouTube and Facebook. I can't see the counter whenever I'm here. So I would say you can consider this Art Deco, but also has a certain kind of Egyptian revival look to it as well. '94 tuning in on YouTube. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Let's take a look at the doors. And it says camera use is prohibited, so I will stay pretty far away. Okay. 58 on YouTube. So, awesome. So here are the new Revel bikes that are being used all throughout the city. Don't worry, Anderson, I appreciate the update. I don't need a constant updater. Don't worry, don't worry. I just need a rough estimate, Anderson. I appreciate it. So, speaking of weird architecture, we just have two more pieces of architecture literally right next to it. I'm literally walking right beside it. Now, here you can see my setup. People have asked me, how do I look like when I'm live streaming? Well, this is how I look like when I'm live streaming. Not always in the best posture, though. because you know, I do the kind of the camera walk in order so the camera is as steady as possible. But we see a lot of glass here. Let's tell you, who do you think is the architect of this building? Let me know in the comments. He's a world famous American architect from the 1930s all the way to about the 1970s. I look like a spy. I kind of do look like a spy, yeah, with my face covering. Kenyon. You say Van der Rohe. No. Frank Lloyd Wright. No. No. He is a world famous American architect, though. One thing to know about Frank Lloyd Wright, his architecture is more kind of nature based. It has a lot of curvatures and weird shapes. So good guess in knowing what's a top American architect, but he's very different from this. So very different style. Susan says Eames. Ooh, I really do like that guess. Let's see if we could go across the street, maybe get a better vantage point. I Am Pei, says Gary. Gary, I really like that guess. So I Am Pei is more known for poured concrete. He's also actually done a lot of glass as well. So yeah, that is a good guess because I Am Pei has done a lot of glass, and he's also a world famous American architect. All right, so this guy, I love all the guesses. Gary is a good guess, though he does way more curvature than this guy. I love all the guesses. I think the closest ones are like Le Corbusier and who said I Am Pei. I Am Pei, I think, is the closest ones. This guy, during the late 1930s, was a Nazi. Yep. He was a Nazi in America. He admired so much the Führer, the world leader, the leader of Germany, I'd rather not even say his name, that he was planning to go over to Germany. However, this certain architect, world famous at that time, you could say he's one of the very first architects, along with the likes of Frank Lloyd Wright. But this guy was way more popular at that time, because Frank Lloyd Wright became a little bit popular later. He ended up really realizing his wrong ways. Because after World War II, he ended up realizing the true horribleness of this man he admired. And thus he started making pro bono work for Jewish centers around the US. This man, of course, is Philip Johnson, the man who wanted to build a modern American utopia with his buildings that were glass and steel, but had usually way more glass. Philip Johnson. Not to be confused with Philip Glass, even though he used a lot of glass. Is it from Bauhaus? I don't think. Well, actually, good question. I don't know if Philip Johnson is considered part of the Bauhaus school. If anyone knows that, let me know. But Nazis like neoclassical. Yeah, Philip Johnson ended up redeeming himself because he did a lot of pro bono work for a lot of Jewish centers all around the U.S. So this building is not modern. It looks contemporary. It is contemporary. I think you would call it contemporary. This is the very last building made by Philip Johnson. The very last building made by Philip Johnson. Before this, he did some major Jewish center somewhere in the U.S. Zost, I don't talk about politics. And yeah, you could call it international style. So really cool. I like the building. Philip Johnson, of course, was a very complicated man. Apparently, he wasn't nice to work with. Despite his political ideas, apparently he wasn't nice to work with. And when I talk about politics, politics is very old. We don't talk about politics unless it's more than like 70 years old. So he was a complicated man, but you can't deny his architecture is gorgeous, and he's also very famous for the glass house. Search up photos of that. This is the very last building. Now, this building was a little bit controversial because for our final stop on this mini tour is one of the oldest buildings in this entire area of Manhattan. This is now the area called Hudson Square, not to be confused with Hudson Yards. And this building was one of the oldest bars in New York City, along with the ranks of Francis Tavern and McSorley's. Someone just came out of that building, so it seems like it is still being used as a residence up above. Edward, thank you for letting us know. So Johnson was influenced by the Bauhaus, but of course his politics then were the opposite. Yes, since the Bauhaus was banned by German regime in the 1930s. Oh, very interesting. Very, very complicated man. Very complicated man. But I think he redeemed himself later in life. I don't know. Let me know what you think without talking about modern politics. Right here. All right, let's go through here. This is a bar from 1817. It was the house of one of the men in the great painting of George Washington crossing the Delaware. Let's zoom in. James Brown, not to be confused with the singer, funk singer James Brown, even though I think this original James Brown was also feeling good. However, currently it is closed and they say BRB right there, BRB. Watch my pint. That's funny. That's funny. So this building has a whole lot of history. I have a more in-depth video, but a quick history for all of you. James Brown was believed to be an African-American man. No one knows 100% for sure, or if he was half or mixed. No one knows 100% for sure, but he was believed to be African-American by most historians. And he's also depicted as much darker skinned in that painting of Washington crossing the Delaware. He's right by George Washington. The Ear Inn ended up being called the Ear Inn afterwards, and it became a recording studio for a few years. So this, to many people, is considered the oldest continuously running tavern in New York City. That title is always in contention. There's other people who claim that title. There's McSorley's that claims that title. There's a bar in Maspeth, Queens that claims that title. But this is among one of the oldest continuously running taverns in all New York. Francis Tavern isn't continuously running. It closed down like 4 times and was rebuilt 4 times. This is also haunted by a longshoreman or a sailor by the name of Mickey. Mickey one night was going to the Ear Inn, had a little bit too many pints. He came out stumbling out from his drunken stupor out into the street, merrily walking right in the middle of the street, and boom, he got hit. Mickey died instantly. But to this day, women, not men, because he tends to pick on women, feel themselves being touched on the shoulder or being touched on the side. Very, inappropriate behavior for a ghost. And also, women report having their drinks stolen. They're drinking a beer one day or 1 minute, and then they look back and the beer is gone. So Mickey is not being so nice from the grave. So if you're here, I would say practice a little bit of caution from Mickey the Ghost. This ties to our end of our broadcast. Let me know if you enjoyed this, everyone. I have a more in-depth history of that. You can search on my Facebook, search Spring Street Urbanist. It was part of my Hidden History series. And there's a lot of cool architecture all around us. I'll just show you one little preview. Lots of interesting architecture all around us. Back off, Mickey. Yes. Back off. Mickey, you know, Mickey isn't a ghost that belongs in the Me Too era. That's what I'll say. So lots of cool architecture as walking around here in Hudson Square. Highly recommend it. It's also a very expensive neighborhood. Many actors live in this area. It is right adjacent to Tribeca, which is of the next neighborhood further south. Any haunted parts of New York City? The most haunted area of New York by far is Greenwich Village. Check out my video. It's both on YouTube and on Facebook. The Haunted History of Greenwich Village is a very haunted place. There's maybe 15 spots that are very haunted. There's a very haunted house in Washington Heights called the Morris Jamel Mansion. So a lot of cool hauntings all around. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in. You'll be seeing New Jersey this week. Wednesdays and Saturdays is my regular live videos. And I go live on random times. And I just published a video about John Lennon's New York. So if you want to learn about John Lennon in New York City, feel free to do that. And these videos sometimes can't be monetized because we might bump into music sometimes because it's live. So in order to keep the spontaneity of these videos, this is sponsored by the patrons, the supporters, the star senders, and the super chatters. So thanks to all of you for doing that. Hit that like button, keep being awesome, and always keep on exploring. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great day.